Hey everybody, welcome back to Flash Tutorials with Alan Becker. Today we're going to be doing something new and exciting and complex, and that is using screenshots in your Flash animations. So this is something that I did for my animator versus animation series, and something that many people have asked me how to do. Today we are going to be making this animation. Yeah. We're going to make a cursor, go to the desktop, right click, click new stick figure, click it, and a stick figure appears and falls down. So yeah, let's just create a new document and start from the beginning up. So first we need to know how to take a basic screenshot. So on a PC, which is what I'm using, you just hit the print screen key, which is to the right of F12, right here. And what it does is it copies a picture of your screen to the clipboard so that you can paste it into Flash or any other image editing programs. If you are on a Mac, the controls are different, and I have kind of a list of the command keys. The equivalent of print screen is Command Control Shift 3. The screen will be pasted onto the clipboard, and then you can paste it into something. So I'm going to go back to the desktop, and I'm going to hit print screen, and then I'm going to just go into Flash and then paste. And there it is. We have our desktop inside Flash. That is amazing. So if you notice, it is bigger than our actual screen. So in order to know exactly where we are, where the screen is, we need to create a little frame for ourselves. So I create a new layer, and then I'm going to hit the rectangle tool, and I'm going to make the stroke black and the fill blank. So I just make any size rectangle, double click it, and then make the X go back to 0 and 0, X and Y, and then the width, I'll set it to my stage width with it width, which is 550, and make sure this is unchecked, and the height is 400. So now we have a frame for our stage. Alright, make sure that is locked so that you don't end up moving it or editing it somehow. Alright, cool. So now we want to create our cursor. Okay, so to make our cursor is kind of tricky because when you capture a screenshot of the screen, it does not capture the cursor. So what we have to do is actually find the cursor library wherever we can edit the cursor. So we go right click and then go to personalize, and we actually have a list of mouse pointers right here. Change mouse pointers. And there it is. See? Fits it perfectly. So what we'll do is take a screenshot of this, and then we'll actually paste it into Flash and trace it. I know that sounds kind of weird, but you'll see. Okay. Alt print screen is what we're going to hit this time. Instead of print screen, which captures the whole screen, we're going to hit Alt print screen, which captures just this window, which makes it better. Okay. Go back to Flash and then paste, and it's right here. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer to draw on top of it, zoom in, and then use the line tool. So I don't want to use black because I want to see which lines I've already drawn over. I'm going to use red. I'm going to hit the center of this pixel right here, go down to the center of the next pixel, go to the center of this pixel, center of this pixel, maybe, and then this one, and then this one, and then there. And we want to make sure that this snap to objects is checked so that these points will snap to the points. And then we're going to just make this rounded like that. Alright, cool. And then we're going to fill it with white and make the stroke color black. And then we don't need the screenshot anymore because because we've got our cursor. So if I turn it into a symbol, then it can be our cursor. And there it is. And I tend to want to put the point where the registration mark is, so it looks better. Okay, good. So we want to animate this, and I'm going to give it a bunch of frames, F5, and let's make it start there, move a few frames, and then go here, maybe here, and then animate it, create a classic tween. We want to make it smoother, so we go to the easing and give it a custom ease in and ease out, like that. That looks better. So now we want it to right click on the desktop. So if we right click here, we see our menu. So we just want to take a screen capture of that. So I'm going to hit print screen, and instead of pasting it into Flash, which would give me an entire screenshot, we're going to paste it into Paint so that we can crop it. So I paste it using Control V, and then I move it so that the gray border is perfectly aligned with the top, because we only want everything inside that gray border. Okay, and we're going to, actually we can just crop here and then zoom in and then crop it to that gray border. And then we're going to save it as a PNG file. Let's see, let's call it screenshot 1. Okay, so we're going back into Flash, and we're going to find where we saved it and then drag it into our library like that. And now we're just going to give it a new layer because we want everything to be on separate layers. So we're going to put this layer below where the cursor is, and then we're going to create a new keyframe and then just put it in there. Right, the corner should be right where the tip of the mouse is, like that. Okay, so now if we look at what the actual thing looks like, we see that there is a shadow. We want to add that shadow to make it more realistic. So we can't add a shadow to it unless it is a movie clip. So we need to convert it to a movie clip. So convert to symbol. We'll call it drop down 1 and then make it a movie clip. Okay, now that it's a movie clip, we can go down to the properties panel after we click on it, and down here under filters, we click on this button, add filter, and hit the drop shadow. So it looks way too dark, so we're going to change the strength to 50%, and it looks pretty realistic. Cool. Now we want to make the cursor go down to the new. So new keyframe, on the second keyframe, move it down here, right click, give it a classic tween, change that ease to make it smooth. Good. So now we're going to get super nitpicky, and we're going to add these bluish looking highlighter things on the options. So to do that, we're going to need some reference. We're just going to need to take a screenshot of this, and then we're actually going to draw it inside of Flash instead of using the screenshot itself. We're just going to use the screenshot as a reference. So I'm going to print screen this, go into Paint, paste it, zoom out, zoom in, select just this, crop it, save it as a PNG file. Let's call it screenshot 2. Save that, and then put it into our library. So now let's put this on its own layer, and screenshot 2, we're just going to put it right there, and we're going to try to match it up to where the real thing is. Okay, good. well, I was using the arrow keys to move it around, by the way. Good. What we want to do now is redraw this rectangle. And so it looks like it's a rounded rectangle. And so let's create a new layer and then go to the rectangle tool. And then for the stroke, we're going to pick the color of this rectangle. And since it's a rounded one, we want to go down to rectangle options and give it a radius. So the radius is from the center how many pixels this circle takes up. So it looks like it's just 1. So I'm just going to go to change it to 1, and I changed it for all of them. And then I'm going to draw it. So I'm going to start at the center of where the circle should be, and just go out like that. That looks alright. So now we want to mimic this this general darker blue tint-ish looking thing that's on the bottom, and the brighter-ish tint that's on top. So we're going to use a gradient. So I'm going to click on this white, go to the color, and change it to a linear gradient. So we have our linear gradient. We're just going to hit the F key, and then we're going to move it in and rotate it so it looks like that. Okay. So now we change this black by double clicking on this little arrow, and we change it to this color right here. Okay. So now we just want to change the opacity so that we can see through it, and we're gonna make the middle, make a new point right here in the middle, change the opacity to 0. And now we're going to change these to maybe like 50 and 50. So now we have our duplicate selected box thing. Alright, so now we don't need the screenshot anymore, so let's get rid of that. And let's take this and turn it into its own symbol, call it selected. Yeah, and now we have something we can just move around and use over and over again. Alright, so we want to have this box follow where the mouse goes. So let's see, let's put it underneath where the cursor is, right there. And then the first time we're going to see it is probably right here. So I'm going to move it here, move the box there, and then scrub forward, and then looks like it's going to move to here after that. So I'm going to make a new keyframe, move it here, and then new keyframe here, and then move it there, and then new keyframe here, and move it, I don't know, tricky, there, and move it here, and move it here. So see how that looks. There we go. So now we want to have this box pop up. So let's just get a new screenshot. Like that. Print screen, go to paint, paste, and then crop this, and then zoom in a little bit, select all, Control A, move it to the edge. Oh man, this always happens. Select all, move it to the edge, select something different, and then there we go. Save as ping. And then screenshot 3, save it out. And then just drag it into your library. Cool. So let's zoom out, and then we want this new one to appear. So let's give it a new layer and then have it appear. So screenshot number 3 will be right here, and we want to give it a shadow like we did the previous one. So let's turn it into a movie clip. Convert to symbol. Name it drop down 2 and then change it to a movie clip, and give it under filters a new drop shadow and change the strength to 50%. Alright, now I want to move the cursor, so I'm going to new keyframe here, new keyframe here, move it to here. So notice that in our example there was an option for a stick figure. Now you're never going to see that in a real computer. I mean, you might, but what I actually did was I edited the text inside Flash to change this Flash action script file to stick figure. So to do that, I actually have to go into this movie clip, double click it, and then change this. So to do that, I need to cover this text with the background color as well as this, the background color, and then type over it using the same exact font that this is. Okay, so I create a new layer, rectangle tool, we don't need a stroke, and we're going to copy the color from here, and now we cover it like that. Cool. And so to do this text, you need to know the exact font, and I don't know, you can Google whatever operating system you have for what the traditional or default font is. I know for Windows XP it was a Tahoma, Tahoma, but for Windows 7 it is Segoe UI. So I'm just going to type it in. It's size 12. I'm going to type in Flash action script file so I can make sure that it looks exactly the same. Yeah. So I'm going to actually put this on the same layer as this, and so I can compare. So if I zoom out, that's when it matters the most at 100%. It looks like it's too low, so I bring it up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, and what you need to do is play around with which anti-alias works the best. So it turns out that use device fonts at the top is the best for this. It looks exactly the same as the default. So good. So now I can change it to whatever I want. I'm going to hit T and change it to stick figure. And then I'm going to just give it a picture of a stick figure. Okay, whatever. That looks good. So now I get out of this, and there it is. It looks like it was meant to be there. So we give this a classic tween. Make the cursor move. Give it that ease. Let's make it slower. And then copy this. We want to give it a new set of these selection things instead of getting rid of this one. So I'm going to make a new layer and then just copy this onto a new layer. So Control C, Control V, and where'd it go? Oh, okay. Move it above this layer. So now it is going to appear right there. So move it right there. And it looks like we need to change the size of it. So I'm going to hit Q, move the anchor point to the side, and then stretch it. Okay. And it moves down and moves there, and we change that and we move it down. And that's all we need. Alright, cool. So, now we find out that when we select something on the desktop or in our menu, the option that we select fades out while the rest of it immediately disappears. So when I click refresh, for example, you see refresh fade out, but everything else disappears. So I want to do the same thing here to make it realistic. So how do we do that? We could just redraw this or copy this by hand, but there's a easier way to do this, which is by using a mask. So we're going to use this shape and mask out this part of the image. So I haven't covered masks yet, but it's pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is have everything else disappear when he clicks. So I go down here, F6, and then delete what I don't want, which is this and this. And then I'm going to turn these into a symbol. F8 and turn it into stick figure clicked graphic. So I'm going to double click it, and then I'm going to use this shape as a mask to mask this part of this shape. So whatever is going to be the shape that I'm using is going to be on top. So we need these to be separate layers. So I'm going to hit a new layer, Control X to cut this one, and then paste it on top with Control Shift V. Then I'm going to right click the top layer and then hit mask. And then we have our shape. Isn't that great? Yeah, good. So now we're just going to make this fade out. Simple color effect style alpha on the second frame, and we're going to create a classic tween. Alright, so now it fades out. Cool. And now we just need to make a stick figure appear, but I don't think I really have to explain how to do that. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Just 'cause. Alright. Wait. Alright, let's see how that looks. Yay. Okay, I actually realized that I forgot something. If you look at it, it looks okay, but there's something different. If you notice, whenever I right click, these menus, they don't just appear, they fade into place. So we need to do the same thing. It should be pretty easy. This one just appears, we want it to fade in. So let's just add a bunch of frames here to give it some time to fade in. Add a keyframe here. And on the first keyframe we go down to color effect, alpha, 0, and then give it a classic tween. And we do the same thing for the next one, which appears here. So let's see. We want to give it some time also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so. And then give it another keyframe. Change that alpha, classic tween it. There we go. Oh shoot. Now the stick figure appears a little too fast because we didn't add frames. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's play it again. Alright, that is good. That is good. Okay, so that's basically how you use screenshots in Flash. And if you guys want to play with this, feel free to make your own mini version of animator versus animation. It can be really fun. Yeah, just the main thing you're gonna find yourself doing a lot is like taking screenshots and then kind of drawing over them, like I did with this stick figure. I just took the background color, covered it up, and then put the font over top of it. So you'll find yourself doing that a lot. It's very useful to make the illusion of realism. So yeah, keep playing around with that, and stay tuned for my next tutorials. I'm taking requests on what you want to learn. Just contact me through my website, and I will see you guys later.